When I was finishing up primary school and moving into high school, Andrew McCarthy was one of the movie stars all the girls were into in a major, major way. For a period between 1985 and 1990, it felt like McCarthy was in everything and had been around for ages, but I think that's more a factor of my youth at the time. Back then, of course, 5 years seemed like an eternity. These days it feels more like the blink of an eye, if that. In 2021, I bought and devoured McCarthy's memoir, Brat, an 80s Story. Brat is an interesting memoir because while it covers McCarthy's youth and schooling in detail, leading up to a move to New York and small acting roles, by the time it gets to his superstardom and topics like the Brat Pack, the book goes into fast forward and flames out, perhaps not unlike his Hollywood career, leaving decades untouched upon. Sure, there are mentions of later hiking trips and becoming a travel writer and being a director on modern TV shows like Orange is the New Black, but none of it's in any sort of great detail at all. I guess there's a reason the book is subtitled An 80s Story. With all this concentration on his 80s years, it put me in the mood to watch some classic McCarthy movies from the era. Now, rather than pull something obvious like Less Than Zero or Pretty in Pink or St. Elmo's Fire or Mannequin or something like that off my DVD shelf, I threw a few bucks at eBay and picked up copies of Weekend at Bernie's and Weekend at Bernie's 2. The first because it had been an age since I saw the film, and I think it's becoming a more forgotten 80s movie despite its popularity at the time. And the second because not only does McCarthy write it off in his memoir, but I had very hazy memories of seeing it at all when it came out in 1993 or afterward on home video. For this video, however, I'll concentrate on the first film only. For the uninitiated, Weekend at Bernie's revolves around two characters, Richard and Larry, being invited to their boss's beach house for the weekend, where he intends to have them killed. Now, the boss ends up being killed first, so when they arrive at the beach house and find him dead, they have a choice. Do they report it to the police, or have a fun weekend of partying at this beach house by pretending he's still alive? This is a deeply 80s comedy which feels quaint by today's standards on so many levels, but still holds up. I think it's the general darkness of the comedy at hand. Come on, you have two guys having adventures with a literal corpse for half the film, and that's offset against the pastel colours of the greed is good era that this comes from. It's just such a strange, goofy little movie. McCarthy, pretty much my whole reason to be watching the film, is great in this, and actually has good moments in both films if I'm honest, using physical comedy and facial expressions to great effect. Something you notice a lot in the first film, however, is that the Richard role, played by Jonathan Silverman, is actually a more McCarthy role. Richard is the more sensible of the two. He's the one trying to date the pretty girl in the first film. Even the dialogue sounds like things McCarthy should be saying. So of course it's quite interesting to see McCarthy play Larry, a zany goofball type, instead. He doesn't always pull it off, but when he does, it's so unexpected. It's quite fun to watch, and I think more fun than seeing him do a role like Richard would have been. All of this said, and despite a box office of $30 million, which was double its budget, and a very successful life on home video, however, the reviewers at the time weren't kind. Rolling Stone called the film tasteless and crude, and felt that in the end it was impossible to drag one tired joke around for nearly 2 hours. Like Bernie, the movie ends up dead on its feet. Roger Ebert echoed the sentiment, arguing that movies centered on dead bodies are rarely funny. He gave the film 1 out of 4 stars overall. I have no idea when I'll slip Weekend at Bernie's into the DVD player again, let alone its very strange sequel. There are only so many hours in the day, and still a lot of movies and books I've never consumed once. But you know what? Don't be put off by that. I'm glad I caught it again this time around, and I think if you have a love for 80s movies, dark comedies and the like, you will too. Anyway, have you seen Weekend at Bernie's? Did you see it at the time, or did you catch it years later as a cult classic on video or DVD? Why not let me know below, down in the comments?